Hey, John. Tomorrow's your big day? Hello. I'm good. How are you doing? So busy.
Hi, long time no see.
I'm good. Oh, yeah, the ethics. I don't get that enough. Last week I went running one day and biking one day. I got up Saturday planning to, and I'm like, oh, wait, I gotta go to farmer's market because there was a vendor who
It's part of
I
the
need to
job.
show my support for. Yeah.
In Westlaco, yeah. LRG. So there's a reason requested by. Oh, okay. I'm gonna show.
Oh, yeah.
And it's maybe that the city's trying to get them to.
Good afternoon. Notice of a public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville.
Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a regular meeting on September 20, 2022, at 5 p.m. in the City Commission chambers located on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall, Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form will be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Mayor, we do have a quorum in person present. Commissioner Gowan has joined the meeting virtually.
And I know Commissioner Cardenas said he was running about 15 minutes late, so he'll be here in a bit. So call the meeting to order. Thank you.
We have invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pastor, welcome.
Thank you. Let's all stand for the prayer and please remain standing for the pledge. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you so much for your love, your grace, and your mercy, knowing that every one of us needs it. Lord, help us each to understand that your law was designed for our benefit and that we cannot change it because you are God and we are not. Lord, I ask you to lead and guide our mayor and city commissioners today in this meeting. Lead and guide all of our leaders from Washington to Austin to right here in Brownsville. Let the outcome be for the best for the city of Brownsville and for your glory. Lord, we thank you for all of these things in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Now we'll have a short moment of silence where we can add our prayers to what has already been spoken. Amen.
Now the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Under the Texas, pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one community.
Next item, we have proclamations. The first proclamation is proclamation designating September 26 to 30, 2022 as National Gear Up Week and recognizing all Brownsville Independent School District high schools. Sponsored by Mayor Mendez, Commissioner Galansky-Pinzayan.
Welcome. Do we have, I know I saw Ms. Garzonia here. Do we have anybody else? Come on up. This is a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, designating September 26th through 30th, 2022 as National Gear Up Week in the city of Brownsville. Whereas the Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, Gear Up, is a federally funded competitive grant program designed to increase the number of low-income students who are prepared to enter and succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up serves low-income, minority, and disadvantaged students and their families from underserved communities who might be the first person in their family to go to college. And Gear Up provides 6 or 7 year grants to states or partnerships to deliver support and resources to students and their families, starting no later than the 7th grade, through high school and onward to fulfill their dreams of attaining a post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up includes interventions such as tutoring, mentoring, rigorous academic preparation, financial education, and college scholarships to improve access to higher education for low-income, minority, and disadvantaged first-generation students and their families. And Gear Up is built around public-private partnerships, enlisting the formidable resources of government, business, and community groups to support low-income students as they prepare to enter and succeed in college. And whereas the UTRGV Gear Up program is a partnership of Porter Early College High School, Rivera Early College High School, Lopez Early College High School, and UTRGV, and serves over 3,500 students in the Lower Rio Grande Valley, and over 19,000 have been served by all Gear Up grants in our community since 1999. And whereas the city of Brownsville is committed to providing a quality education for all students, helping them to achieve their highest potential. Now therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, and on behalf of all of our citizens, do hereby designate September 26th through 30th, 2022 as National Gear Up Week in the city of Brownsville, Texas, and further encourage the residents to support the quality education of all students to help them achieve their career and leadership goals. Done on this, the 20th day of September, 2022, by myself as mayor and the rest of the city commission. Welcome and thank you all.
Can y'all stand for the photo, please?
Roy. Oh, hold on. Bring Commissioner Nelson. Of course, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you all for being here and shout out to Porter, my alma mater, and their staff. Lois.
Next, we have, next proclamation is the proclamation designating September 26 to 30, 2022 as Clean Energy Week in the city of Brownsville, sponsored by Commissioner Gowen and Commissioner De Los Santos.
Did Commissioner Gowan want to read this? I'm happy to if she'd like to defer.
You go ahead, Roy.
Thank you. A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, designating September 26 through 30, 2022 as Clean Energy Week in the city of Brownsville. Whereas across Texas, clean and abundant forms of energy are powering more homes and businesses than ever before, thanks to renewable sources such as wind, solar, hydro, geothermal, as well as nuclear, natural gas, and carbon capture technologies. And whereas Texas is the leading crude oil and natural gas production state in the nation, and also ranks first in wind-powered electricity generation. And whereas the clean energy sector is a key driver of economic growth in Brownsville, with scores of new jobs being added to the industry every year that cannot be outsourced due to the on-site nature of construction, installation, and maintenance. And whereas Brownsville must harness the power of Texas entrepreneurs and small businesses and ensure government collaboration to assert American energy leadership and dominance in the global marketplace to ensure low-cost, renewable, and reliable energy. And whereas National Clean Energy Week provides a chance to lift up common-sense solutions that will curb climate change while simultaneously preserve the beauty of Texas natural resources. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, do hereby designate September 26th through 30th, 2022 as Clean Energy Week in the city of Brownsville, Texas. Done this 20th day of September, 2022, signed Mayor and City Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there anybody here to receive this proclamation? Either in person or online?
I am joining from the WebEx call, but I really appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next one, we have proclamation designating the month of September 2022 as Deaf Awareness Month, sponsored by Commissioner Galansky Pinzania and Commissioner Gowen.
Commissioner Galansky?
I'll go ahead. This is a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, declaring September 2022 as Deaf Awareness Month in the city of Brownsville. Whereas the deaf population includes a wide range of individuals, from those who were born profoundly deaf and use American Sign Language as primary means of communication, to those with a degree of hearing loss who use hearing aids or other forms of amplifications and communication modes. And whereas American Sign Language is a visual language that is used as a linguistic means of conveying thoughts, ideas, and emotions, it is a language with its own unique rules of grammar and syntax. And whereas the purpose of Deaf Awareness Month is to increase public awareness of the issues and the culture of people who are deaf or hard of hearing, and whereas this is an opportunity to promote equal access to information and services for deaf individuals and educate the public about the misconceptions about being deaf, and to learn about the types of educational programs, support services, and resources available for the deaf and hard of hearing community. And whereas many of these hardworking individuals help build and maintain the city's infrastructure, provide healthcare and human services, and educate and mentor our future generations. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the Charter of said city, do hereby declare the month of September 2022 as Deaf Awareness Month in the City of Brownsville, done on this, the 20th day of September, 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody wishes to speak, please feel free. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marla Martinez, and I work with the Deaf and Hard Hearing Center located in Pharr, Texas. And I want to say thank you, for all the support, for being able to host this year and being invited us here. And I just want to also mention that, we kind of tend to, like, for example, the statistics from here, from the CDC, it states that 1% out of 4 people have a hearing loss. And we also kind of tend to have a lot of people who are living here in Brownsville who, kind of need to be educated on those specific type of topics. And, just show what kind of resources do we provide, if they need to request an interpreter or any of that, or if, for example, they have any type of, they need any type of accommodations for them, we are go ahead and help them, provide that type of support, help them grow and know what kind of services we provide here in the city of Brownsville.
Hi, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Vanessa Vera, and I am the Business Relations Coordinator for the Texas Workforce Commission, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. And we just want to thank you for the proclamation today, because sometimes disabilities do go unnoticed, and just having this opportunity to bring more awareness for deaf and hard of hearing is just phenomenal. So I want to thank you for that. And like Ms. Marla had mentioned, according to the CDC, 1 in every 4 individuals actually has a disability. So that would mean that in your county itself, I think there's over 180,000 individuals here in the county. So that would mean that over 45,000 just here in the Bronzeville area or Cameron County, you have people that may have a disability. So with great nonprofit organizations such as Valley Association of Independent Living, Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center, Workforce, and many more nonprofit agencies, we're just so happy, and we're here to support you in any way possible for opening those opportunities for individuals with a disability. Thank you.
Next, we have public comment. We do have one public comment, Mayor. Jesus Mendoza.
Yes, I'm here. Hello?
Thank you. If anybody here
Hello.
wishes to speak on our work session item, please sign up with our city secretary right now. Thanks.
Yes, I'm Jesus Mendoza, and I'm scheduled to make a public comment, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Just state your name and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Jesus Mendoza, and my phone number it is 956-583-712. I respectfully request your office an ordinance to criminalize bullying as domestic terrorism and to direct the police department to investigate and refer for prosecution those who are provoking children to violence or to treat threats of violence on the ground, that investigation and prosecution of bullying as domestic terrorism can be a strong deterrent to prevent more tragedies in schools. I have been homebound for more than 10 years with a life-threatening electrosensitivity EHS, which was caused and aggravated by the same microwave and radiation surveillance reaching children in school. Even low levels of radiation aggravate my EHS. I have been violently ill several times. I'm sleep deprived and in pain all the time. This is a horrible way to die. My EHS has been recognized by federal and state agencies and by courts as a physical medical condition and as a disability. It is estimated that without knowing it, millions of children are suffering from EHS. A specific, concrete, and undisputed medical, scientific, and legal evidence on the record has proven that those in charge of educating and protecting our children committed fraud on the course to conceal that the chronic, compulsory, and unnecessary exposure to microwaves and radiation surveillance in school are causing children EHS and other catastrophic, irreversible, and deadly harm and disabilities that defeat the purpose of education, to conceal that government-sponsored hate group bullying, which includes school officials, teachers, and students, are provoking children and the mentally disabled to commit mass shootings to justify, under the fabricated excuses of national security, the massive, powerful, and harmful military-grade safety and surveillance radiation technologies of schools and even homes, and to conceal that under fabricated excuses of national security, the future of our children and the future of our country and national security are being sold to the trillion-dollar wireless, big pharma, and medical cartels, as detailed on the motion to recuse 3 federal judges and on the request to Senator Rolando Gutierrez and posted on the case law section of J. Mendoza at wirelesswatchblog.org, wirelesswatchblog.org. Because even federal and state authorities and courts are attempting to conceal these atrocities, criminalizing bullying as domestic terrorism can save immense pain and suffering and can save children's lives. Your prompt attention to this matter is highly appreciated. A copy of the request to Senator Gutierrez is being submitted to your office. Respectfully, Jesus Mendoza.
Thank you, Ms. Mendoza. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, we have work sessions. First item is bus stop improvements update by Multimodal Transportation Department.
Good evening, Mayor
Welcome.
and Commissioners. I will be providing an update on B Metro's bus stop improvement project. Currently, B Metro has 599 bus stops and 104 of those have bus shelters, which brings us to 17.3%, 36% of bus stops having shelters. With the additional 30 that we're installing in this project, it will put us up to 134 shelters and put us at a percentile of 22.37%. Going. Why is it? Okay, there we go. The cost per shelter is $10,750. With the 30 shelters, it comes to $322,500. Engineering and design is $68,345. We have had a change order, which will increase the cost of the engineering and design. Construction is estimated at $611,270, which the funding that we got that was approved was 1.1 million. And the total cost with these current numbers brings us to a little over $1,002,115,000. And so that gives us a remaining balance of $97,000. We also have a grant that we've allocated some money of $145,000 for additional shelters. So with the numbers that we currently have, we can potentially add an additional 2026. So we'll have that as a phase 2 after the project is completed.
Is it possible to include that in this phase, since you already know how many it's going to be?
We would have to start over with the engineering and design. Well,
Because they look
we could
prefab.
we could potentially add, I'd have to go back and look at that, but I can provide you an update if we can do that. We currently, we went with the the manufacturing Ingo Planet, and we went for proposal in March. The commission, we all approved in May of 2022, and we are expected to have delivery of the shelters in November of 2022. The engineering design was awarded to SWG, and it was awarded in May of 2022. And 100% of design is expected in October, early October of 2022. We have received 60% of the plans, and they are at multimodal for review right now. The next steps will go out for construction bid in late October and estimated to have an award by the commission in November 15th of 2022, and begin pre-construction early December, and estimated to have a notice proceed for construction in January of 2023. The whole project is expected, all 30 is expected to be completed at the late fall, October, or early November of 2023. However, I do highly anticipate that we could have some sites completed by the summer. Any questions?
Yes, are these going to be prefabricated? Do they arrive already built, or do they have to be
Yes.
constructed?
They will be built.
Okay,
Delivered built, yes.
okay.
Do we have anywhere that the public can access it, a list of the locations where these are going to be?
We are just finalizing the 30 with from the engineer that we just received. Once we do that, then we can provide some sort of infographic or some information on which sites are selected.
And then I'd like to see also, because I know we're not looking at funding 100% coverage for all bus stops out there, but I do know that I hear back from constituents frequently about stops that lack any type of shade structure. And Dr. Paul Lentz, who's my primary physician, he just opened a new clinic over on Price Road near where it hits 48. And he was talking about donating land to the city if that would help get a shelter built. There's a bus stop with a bench, but no shade. And so rather than sit at the bench and wait for the bus, his patients stand under the sign for the clinic because there's shade there, but there's no seating. So I think there's still opportunities for us to look at different alternatives and maybe public-private partnerships and working with groups that do construction out there, so that anything that's not slated to be covered by these shelters in particular, that there might be some opportunities for us still out there.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to work with you guys on that.
Great. Yes. Thank you.
Well, one thing that jumps out, if nobody else saw it, but the prefab looks like it's 10,000 per shelter, but the construction is about 20,000 per shelter. I don't understand why it's budgeted for 20,000 when they're prefab.
It's the construction for the concrete, the concrete pad, the sidewalk, and the ADA ramps.
Okay, I'm sure some people are going to ask that, so thanks.
Yes.
Okay. Next item, next electric rates update presented by Brownsville Public Utility Board. Brownsville Public Utilities Board in City Manager's Office.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is John Brusiak. I'm the General Manager of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. We're here tonight. Mike Pettis, our Chief Financial Officer, and Marilyn Gilbert, Chief Operating Officer and Assistant General Managers, is to talk about the increases we're seeing with our customer bills. And want to make the Commission aware that the utility staff and the board are very concerned about what we're seeing with these bills. We're here tonight to educate the Commission and the customer, one, about what's causing the bills to be reflected so high, and then a plan of action going forward to help the customers going forward. I want to make a few points first before Mike starts. First and foremost, we stand here today as both PUB employees and customers. as employees, we're dedicated to our utility and our community. As customers, we've seen some of the same high bills that we've all seen this summer. And we know no customer likes surprises when they open their bill. We acknowledge this is a tough time for our customers, and we're doing our best to help in any way, shape, or form we can. Today, we share existing and new ways PUB is helping customers, and we'll continue to build on this list. This situation highlights a big opportunity for PUB to communicate challenges like this more proactively in the future in order to reduce surprises. I do want to stand here and assure the commission that the customer concerns are our concerns. I feel the pain of the customers, not because I'm a general manager, but I understand the situation. We see it, you see it. I've talked to commissioners and everyone's concerned. So I want the customer to know that we're not taking this lightly. There's some things we can do short-term, mid-term, and long-term to help that. But I'd like to at least go out and explain first what's causing this crisis and the energy crisis. I'll provide you with an article that I ran across today from the Wall Street Journal talking about national energy crisis or natural gas prices with utility bills. And it's exactly what we're talking about here tonight. So this is not a Brownsville problem. This is a nationwide problem that we're trying to get our hands on. So with that, I'm going to ask Mike Pettis to start off with the customer's bill and what's happened to that bill, and then follow up with Ms. Gilbert.
Thank you, John. So as John mentioned, I am going to tackle the reason why the bills have increased. And so we'll get started here. There are three main reasons that the utility bills have gone up. We've had a scorching summer with record-breaking heat, which has led to higher customer energy usage. Average mean temperatures since April of 2022 have exceeded the 5-year average. Second, record high inflation is contributing to higher natural gas prices. As of mid-August, natural gas prices were up 70% since June of 2022, and a staggering 525% since June of 2020. And we'll touch more on this in the next slide. The third reason for the increased utility bills is due to recent rate adjustments. Although BPUB lowered the base electric rates 11% in June, higher natural gas prices outweighed that 11% reduction, which is why electric bills went up. BPUB has kept the fuel purchase and energy charge static for 5 years as part of a bill reduction program, but as base electric rates went down and natural gas prices went up, it became necessary to adjust the FPEC rate to reflect market prices. Additionally, to keep up with the growth of ongoing maintenance and increased demand on our water and wastewater systems, there were some water and wastewater rate increases for the first time in years in June, along with the new Resaca fee for all BPUB water customers. To illustrate these increases, we compared an August 2022 combined utility bill to the same month last year, based on 2,000 kWh energy usage and 10,000 gallons of water consumption. So comparisons are reported here by utility. The overall bill increased $93.82, or 29.9% over prior year's bill, with a majority of the increase seen in the electric charges. So we see the total bill went up from $314.30 August last year to $408.12 this year, based on the same consumptions. So in the following slides, we will dive into the details by utility. So the top portion of this slide breaks down the electric utility bill. BPUB lowered the base electric rates 11% on June 1, 2022, as reflected here. Another 11% drop is scheduled for June 1st of 2023. The fuel and energy charge did increase 4.756 cents over last year. That's a significant increase. On the bottom left chart shows the average annual gas price volatility that was seen this past year. Early in 2021, natural gas prices hovered around $2 to $3 per metric million British thermal units or MMBTU. Natural gas prices started rising in 21 and those prices continue to rise in 2022 with prices now around $8 or $9 per MMBTU currently here in September. So that's a substantial increase that has greatly impacted all utilities and not just BPUB. The biggest driving factor why natural gas prices have risen quickly is the fact that inventory levels are below historical averages. Demand for natural gas this summer has been high due to the record-breaking heat. Making matters worse is the exports of liquefied natural gas that's going out to Europe in an effort to mitigate the impact of the loss of Russian gas. So the August 2022 electric consumption it's also at a 5-year high, as illustrated in the bottom right chart. This high consumption has contributed to higher utility bills. So natural gas supply has failed to keep up with the high demand. This high prices should incentivize more production, but production from new drilling wells usually lags a year behind. And that's probably why the future markets indicates that natural gas prices should be 50% lower a year from now. On this slide, we compare the monthly average bills over 12 months for the utility companies providing service in our zip code. There is a clear correlation in increases to utility bills and increases in natural gas prices for all of these utilities. We see spikes in utility bills beginning in April of 2022. The increases in natural gas prices is affecting the entire country and not just PUB. So this slide also demonstrates BPUB's rate competitiveness. You can see we're significantly below a lot of those other IOUs that are reported on here. On this slide, we have the detailed breakdown of the water and wastewater and city fees. The water and wastewater bill for a 10,000 gallon of consumption shows an increase of $10.42 or 15.1% over last year as a result of rate increases implemented on June 1st of 2022 for water and wastewater and a separate recycle fee. The city's fees also increased 99 cents or about 3% over the same month last year. The August 2022 water consumption is also at a 5-year high, as illustrated in the chart, and therefore is also contributing to the higher utility bills. Water and wastewater recycle fee increases are scheduled in January for each of the next 4 years. Next, we've got Marilyn that will cover the next question.
So what is PUB doing to help customers? First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm actually new to the Brownsville Public Utilities Board. I've been here for a couple of months, but I'm not new to the community. I was previously employed at the Brownsville Public Utility Board for about 14 years, and I rejoined a few months ago as the Assistant General Manager and Chief Operating Officer. So one of the things that I wanted to bring at this time is a summary of the measures being taken to help our customers and the short-term measures that we're doing at this time. Some of the immediate relief programs that help customers are further defined on the PUB website, which is will be noted a little bit further along. And then also I want to talk about the medium-term measures that PUB is researching and options for hedging. A lot of people don't know what hedging is, but hedging is like a price risk uncertainty. And with any type of program that we need to do, we need to also do some research when it comes to that. We're also looking to the long-term message. What are we doing to help our customers and provide data? And that's advanced metering. And with the advanced metering infrastructure, everybody right now has a phone on their hands and they want to see what is my data consumption is. I call my bank, I'm able to see what my balance is. I call, for my phone bill, and all of a sudden I see what my usage, and that's exactly what it is data on your fingertips. But that's not something that can be implemented right away. It's going to take some time for us to bring and change out some of the various different meters. In addition to that, we're also looking into power supply strategies in there. Some of the short-term measures and some of the customer program assistance that we have is the Comprehensive Energy Assistance Program. And that is a government program that funds the majority of the claims, and most customers will qualify. But if not, then we have 2 additional programs that share, and also the Elderly Low Income Assistance Program, which is the ELIP. They both step in. So whenever one program doesn't qualify, we have two additional programs that qualify. We also have the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, and we also have other partner agencies for which that helps us qualify the individual customers. I do want to mention, for those of you who are not reading it or on our audience, we have the Community Action Corporation of Texas, and they can be reached at 956-435-0379, and also Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley, 956-541-0220. Both of these partners actually can help you on any of the various different programs that we have out in the community. And we have had quite a bit of programs, actually, community members take advantage. We do have additional aid that is still out there, and we also have funding that is available for the upcoming fiscal year that the PUB has. Just to give you an idea, and I'm not going to go through all the details, but in summary, in the fiscal year to date, and the year's not over, we have year to date actually to about 2.3 million. And last year, again, about 2.3 million. And so we do understand there's quite a bit of residents in the community that are asking, and I encourage you, if any of you hear anything, forward them to myself, our general manager, our CFO, and we'll be glad to get them in program with the programs. We also have in the audience members of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board staff, and I do want to acknowledge them here, so who are here. We have Eduardo Campirano. He's our customer service manager, and he has been very instrumental in providing some of these programs here. And we also have our director, and she is in finance. And of course, we also have our communications interim director. Those three individuals there have been able and instrumental providing to the various members of the community, the various programs. This thing got trigger happy. Go back. One of the other things and short-term measures that we're doing is the various different payment arrangements that we're doing. And if you look at the table that we have here, we have made a total in the year 2020, about 40,950 payment arrangements, 21, 44, and 44,001. So I don't want to go into all the details of the data, but you can see on here that we work with our customers. Many other utilities out there give you a one-time payment arrangements, and we have various different needs in the community. Some of them have had 12 payment arrangements. Some of them have had one payment arrangement. Some of them have had a one-time energy assistance needs. But we also want to have a sustainable program, which we also want to discuss at this time, energy efficient programs. I'm not going to go into all the details of all the various different programs, and our website is located in here on the www.brownsville-pub.com. And you can also reach us at our green rebates programs at 956-983-6282. The reason I'm bringing those students or programs is because if we just offer customer assistance and give one-time payments, we're not solving the problem. A lot of it has to do with the way we consume, and we need to think about energy. We also need to understand that we're here to help you and help you make those investments to help you become more energy efficiencies in your household. This is affecting everybody throughout the United States. This is not just unique to Brownsville. Brownsville has, for many, many years, had various different low energy providing by various different resources, and I'll go that into more detail in subsequent slides. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the hedging strategies and some of the things that we actually are working at the utility. This will take a little bit more long to actually do, and it's an insurance policy. We're trying to give price certainty. We're trying to be able to give our customers, the idea that the next month, what is my bill going to be? And by us implementing and looking into our existing contracts, we're going to be able to do that. We do have locked-in contracts right now that if we hadn't had and executed those strategies, then our costs would have even been higher. So we're reevaluating some of those existing contractual arrangements to be able to get potentially additional lower cost energy or other alternatives. But when the market is high, that may not be the time to actually buy a long-term pricing, and we have to look at that insurance policy for price certainty that we are looking at. We also make sure that we don't lock in our customers to and the highest rates that they are at this time. PUB does not profit. It is a cost of service utility. What does that mean? Everything that we do for the benefit of the community. Every single program that we do, we are not for profit. We recuperate our cost of service and we back into the system. The high natural gas prices have caused for the variable part of the bill to increase when compared to the past years. And PUB does not intend to speculate off of market when we do these hedging programs. By speculate is we're not going to lock in on a price thinking that we're going to make money to be able to offset, because that's when other utilities have gotten in trouble. We are here just to cover our needs and our utility resources. One of the other things in the medium-term strategies is customer communications. Many of the community, and I've responded to myself, have not seen as some of the communications have gone out, but we are providing additional communication. You'll be seeing more as in the upcoming months. We have information campaign on bill adjustments that has focused on the PUB website, social media, and the local news coverage as well. This includes press releases in May, June, and 3 Brownsville Herald articles in May and September. But we realize not everybody has a circulation to the Brownsville Herald. We realize that sometimes not all the press releases are there. So we have also continued to go on and engage the community. I myself has made a couple of presentations down to the community. We talked about the various different drought conditions that we're currently facing, in addition to some of the Versaka fees. And at that time, I've made myself available before and after the meetings to answer questions when it comes to the high energy consumption bills. Some of them have invited us to come back and talk about the power market prices, which we will be doing. Some of the longer term measures that we have right here is the advanced metering that I spoke about. And this would also help if there's an issue at any of the households. Sometimes we get a call, we have an extremely amount of water consumption, and it's too late because it's at the end of the cycle. So what do? The AMI is going to help have that data that if we see the increase in water consumption, that can give an indicator that there is a problem at the household. In addition to that, the energy consumption can see when somebody may not be aware that if something wrong with the air conditioning, then maybe air conditioning is not cycling on and off. And some of the additional programs potentially may look into some programs like that. But I do want to spend a little bit of time about the power supply in the mix. Because I mentioned I had been here 14 years prior, I have seen a lot of the different changes in the market, but I also have gone back into history. Once upon a time, the Brownsville Public Utilities Board did have hydropower, but what happened? The energy source actually went dry. The Rio Grande River, this is where we're at, and so we no longer have that hydropower. In the 80s, Brownsville Public Utilities Board went and bought coal, one of the lowest. I just heard a proclamation about how we wanted to become clean energy. That was for very many years, we sustained from very low prices. But then at the same time, that too was no longer a viable solution. We are now experiencing another market shift from natural gas prices. As long as we have a shortage in natural gas prices, is supply and demand, we are going to continue to see these prices sustain, if not. But we are also hearing that potential investments in the future will also help reduce some of that pricing again. But until then, we're looking into all of our strategies, all of our contracts, and that's going to be a longer term measure to be able to get there. Our currently mix right now, just to give you an idea, is our natural gas. We have about 60% of our portfolio in natural gas. We have 21% from wind, and long-term power purchase agreements about 17.9%. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Sure. Open it up to the commission. You have any questions to?
Who wants to go first?
That's the question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Go first. So I have several questions, but one of the things that I don't like is I'm getting a lot of constituent calls from people who are not able to pay their bills, single mothers with 5 children who have showed me their bills who are over $1,000. My bill this month was almost $900 at my house. I live in a 3,500 square foot home and I have 5 people living there. That's unacceptable. And in the last few months, you've come to us asking for Rezoning fees. I understand that the prices of things go up, but we are in crisis mode. This is a crisis when people cannot pay their light bills. I understand that the price of natural gas has gone up, but is there any way that we can rescind the Rezoning fee off of every single bill in Brownsville while we are in this situation? Maybe temporarily pause it.
Those fees were set by the city commission. The city commission certainly knew that. We do have commitments with the Corps for projects. Yeah, again, that Rezoning fees every year are to cover our share of any grant funding. So the grant funding we're receiving now This will allow us to fund staff, fund things, equipment, things like that to do that. It would just delay it, or we would jeopardize the grant probably if we did away with the fees.
I understand that, but I feel like we're in crisis mode when people can't pay their bills. And then the second thing I was gonna ask is I keep getting shown bills from people that don't have PUB. And of course, obviously, the bill is a lot lower because we don't have all of these fees and garbage and all of these things tacked on. I feel it's very valuable that we're able to collect all of that money at once so people are not getting 10 bills every month. That's annoying when you go to your mailbox and have a bill every day. So I do find that useful. But I'm wondering, is there a way that maybe PUB can restructure the bill and have be more informative to show people, because you open it and you see that big number and you think, oh my God, go turn the lights on. But it's actually a lot of things combined into one. Is there a way that maybe PUB can look into the bill and be more informative?
Yes, we can do that. Take a look at that. It's all pretty well spelled out, but most people look at the big number.
Well, it's hard for me. The number hits me and I'm
And
flabbergasted.
that's usually what happens. The customer sees the number, that's as far as they go. They get upset, and then they, but we can try to do that. That we do have a lot of charges on that, like a Magic Valley has their electric charge, that's all. Lardine has their water charge. We've got water, sewer, garbage, environmental fees, electric, and it's a big bill, but there's a lot of things on there.
And I'm hoping that, because, and you just said it right now, well, it's up to the commission. But remember, Mr. Busiak, respectfully, I say, we only do that because you come to us and ask us to do that. So we're in this position where we're not running PUB, but you ask us to raise the rate and you tell us that you have to raise the rate. And then constituents have problems. And when they go to you, the finger gets pointed at the commission, and we were in this horrible bind where we're told that we had to do it. So that's another thing. And I would like to work with PUB to look at these excessive rates and see maybe what can be brought down in the meantime, work on these programs and make sure that our consumers, our constituents, are getting the least amount billed during these very hard times. It's hard to afford groceries with inflation, and then you get this massive bill. But I really do like what you're looking at and showing people maybe on a daily basis what their house has consumed, so you can be more aware of it. Because I'm aware that people do have leaks in their yard or whatnot, water running, and then you get this massive bill and there's no way that PUB can discount it, so you're responsible for it. But maybe if people had a better understanding, and I know there's other companies out there that do that, but I really would like to see that. PUB and the city have to work better together because these are crisis times for a lot of families.
Right, and I think this is a work in progress. This is not a one-meeting show here. And possibly maybe as we get some more information about what we can do to lower the bills, if possible, as a joint meeting with the city and PUB boards.
And my last question, I know the answer to it, but I would like for you to answer it publicly. So I was noticing on the rate comparison chart that you posted this month, PUB is the second to lowest energy rate currently at the moment. But why is there one more company, I believe it's Magic Valley, that's
Magic Valley.
able to have lower rates than PUB? Why is it that we can't match that number? Or can
Well,
we?
we're not, we're not privy to get their data or information like we can get here on a lot of our operation costs. So they could have a different generation mix. They could have different limited debt. They have different contracts. I don't know the answer. What we've always, a couple of months ago, we were lower than Magic Valley. This month, they're lower than us. So in a year's time, that if you looked at that curve that Mr. Pettis put up, we're kind of neck and neck, up and down between the two of us. And I can't give you an answer of why they're lower this month and we were lower last month. I don't know what caused that over there, but we try to stay as close to them as possible because they do have an excellent company and good rates.
In all fairness, it was pretty close, and
Yeah.
I tremendously respect the linemen at PUB and the service that PUB offers, because I know that when we have storms, my constituents that have PUB have power within hours. And these other companies, I've seen where it has taken over a week for them to get there. So I have tremendous respect for the linemen and the people that work at PUB. But this is crisis time for our constituents, and they can't pay their bills, and something absolutely needs to be done. And I would like that every option be looked at.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the graph that Mike put up on there that shows where we are and how we've been below them, they've been above us, or we track pretty darn close to them. Which we should be. They're a co-op and we're a municipal. We're not an investor-owned utility, so we should be in that.
I did see we had one of the lowest rates, but making that information available and accessible to the public, not just that I knew where to go look for it, but I mean, a single mother of 5 kids, it needs to be probably on everybody's bill.
Yeah, and we can do, and I think it'll be helpful when we get the AMI system, when you can see
To
real
hold
time.
everybody accountable.
In the next 2 years, we'll have that in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So John, mine would be targeting, since we have a city-owned utility, communicating, obviously, we can communicate what's driving this, what's causing this, but beyond that, what's the benefit of owning our own utility company versus everybody being able to go on the open market? If in a crisis time like this, there are no other alternatives, it's just, we're gonna explain the problem to you guys. And I think about, at the national level, when the gas prices are spiking and they do things like suspend the tax or tap into the national reserves, and granted, those aren't things that are at your disposal, but they start to think outside the box, what things can we do to get us through the tightest time? I would pose the same question to PUBs. What alternatives are out there to do things differently that maybe we have projects we're trying to fund with our profits in the next year? Could those be pushed out to help lower rates or give some type of benefits in the short term? And I think also improving what we do with regard to encouraging our citizens or allowing our citizens to generate their own power, whether it's solar panels. I know I've heard complaints from constituents that they're limited on how much of their power can come from solar versus how much they have to buy from PUB. I don't know if our rates are competitive as far as what we take from them and sell back to the grid. But I think encouraging and maybe even incentivizing solar panels throughout our community would help our problem as well.
Yeah, we have a large group of solar rooftop customers. We don't restrict them. The more they make, the more credit they get from it. And
Good.
unfortunately, most of the complaints are that we don't buy their power. Well, they don't make enough to sell into the grid to cover their own load. So, but we work with all these solar companies, with the customers on these.
Good.
And we encourage them. And we have a program in place to work with them, and as long as they comply with the hookup and the meter and the net meter and things like that, everything is, and they get credit for the energy they produce.
I think one thing I'd like to see, especially with regard to solar, is what is the average turnaround time from the time we get the request to connect them to the time we actually go out and do that? Because I've heard some horror stories about the delay.
So I have a follow-up question on that, if I could interrupt. A couple years ago, I called, and I forget the gentleman I spoke to about solar panels for myself. And he explained very clearly that great idea, wonderful for the planet and all of that. But because of the cost of the equipment, a lot of the customers were not pleased because you have to pay for the cost of the equipment along with, to begin with. And so the return on investment for putting in the solar panels is a couple of years, if not, if I'm remembering correctly, it was like 3 or 4 years. Perhaps not necessarily right now, but I would like an update on that. What is the typical return on investment these days for putting in solar? Because it sounds wonderful, but the average person in Brownsville perhaps cannot wait years before they start seeing a return on investment.
Yeah, the problem is down here, this is probably not a great area for solar. I mean, it's cloudy. There's a lot of clouds. Clouds come up today all day. And so they don't get the benefit of to get the full benefit of them, you need a large platform for solar, much larger than these rooftops, to see a difference where they don't have a bill or anything like that. And this is not a good area. If this was a good area, you'd see major solar farms like you see in San Antonio and Arizona, all over Brownsville. There's none here. Why? because the capacity factor is around 16% of what they could get off of that. And they're good. I'm all for solar and wind. Those are great things, and I encourage people to put them on. But as Ms. Allen said, the rate of return to pay that system off on top of the roof is long-term. It's multiple years. But people still do it because they like it. They like to have solar and they feel good about it, and we encourage that. That's fine.
And a couple of other things I'd like to touch on, John, and this is probably part of the customer experience aside from the high bills. And I think all of us hear this about lobbies being closed right now, lack of access, long wait times on the phone. From some customers, especially business customers that have bills that can run into the thousands or over $1,000, but they're limited on how much they can make their payment for because of their method of payment. I think trying to find solutions, if we're going to generate a bill that's a $2,000 bill, the business should be able to pay the $2,000, whether it's on their company card, check, cash, whatever, but convenience for them. I think being very customer friendly, having a good experience is important. And the smart meters. I think you guys touched on that a little bit. That's important because the other complaint I hear is we get billed for the average usage versus our actual usage. And I know we're working towards that. So I think the sooner we get there, the better off we'll be with that respect.
In regards to AMI, I can answer that, Commissioner. At our last board meeting, we actually approved the AMI initiative. So it's going to be around $30 million investment to bring smart meters to all the customers, which is going to improve the overall system efficiencies. And it'll pay for itself within a few years, I believe, over the course of a few years, mainly because of leaks and other things that you can identify through AMI. Customers can also determine what their usage is pretty much on an hourly basis, which is very helpful. So yeah, we spearheaded that, but that's been about a year in the making. And thankfully, at the last meeting, the PB board did approve that.
What's the implementation timeline look like?
Based on what was expressed to us at the meeting, the total implementation looks to be about 24 months. But just like our broadband, you're going to be able to get some people live as you continue to build it out. So that from start to finish, till it's all done is about 24 months, correct me if I'm wrong, which kind of tracks with our broadband as well.
Good.
Yeah, and one thing on the AMI project, which is a little different here than it was in the investor-owned utilities, when they were mandated to put everyone in with AMI, customers got a charge on their bill continuous to pay for those. And in our case, it's built into our rate base. So there's no extra charge for putting the meter in. So it's, I think, a benefit for the customers. It was a long time in coming because we haven't had the rates in place and things to do that, but we're in good shape now to do that.
And Commissioner De Los Santos did bring up something that I also brought up with y'all, which is the lobby hours and the accessibility to customers. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, we'll work. Those are workable things that part of that was COVID, part of it was lack of staffing to do it. Our main concern with the lobby, our old building over there, was having 50 or 60 people congested in an area with the COVID situation. So I think we can relax. We're looking at relaxing some of that, continuing with the payment, people come in and make an appointment. But we try to, if that's important, we'll try to look at that.
Another thing that came up that Commissioner De Los Santos brought up was some of the monies that come in. I know that we did also have a discussion regarding off-system sales because I know PB does generate some off-system sales. My understanding is that those off-system sales go back in for capital improvements and other deferred maintenance, which has been necessary as well. But I know that there's a balance there trying to determine how do you use that money? Do you use it for deferred maintenance? Because that may end up costing more down the road, or it may cause other inefficiencies that will cost customers. But can you elaborate a little bit on off-system sales and how it is that you go into using that money?
I can address that real quick. So in years past, what we've been doing is we have designated some of those off-system gains on those sales to go against, to be applied against the bill reduction program, part of the fuel sub-account. So we can certainly continue to do that going forward. We did budget $6 million into the fuel adjustment sub-account for fiscal year 23, which is intended to end by June 1, 2023, when we roll back the other 11%. But for fiscal year 2024, we can certainly, the The initial plan was to set aside at least $3 million per year to have there to mitigate any spikes in the FPEC rates.
So that is an option. It just, if it's an option, which is something that I've asked also for different options, it would come at the cost of deferred maintenance and other possible improvements. So that's something that would have to be balanced and kind of looked at, which that's a decision at the PB level or PB board level, I understand. But I know that that is one potential consideration. There's also another pocket of money that can be used to offset. It's just a matter of the return on that investment, right? Which, like the Resaca fee, for example, it's being charged on bills that they're, I think about $4 to $5. The reason that we approved that as a commissioner, at least one of them, is I can say the PB board struggled with this for close to a year because it was a limited grant. I know that our buy-in for that was minimal compared to the federal grant that was going to be coming in, but also the Resacas provide a source of drainage for us during times of heavy rainfall. So they actually help us avoid other major drainage issues during heavy rainfall. So that's something that we also, if there's ever a consideration to eliminate that, that's something we need to weigh because the value of that is very likely more than the fee itself because you're getting at least a threefold return from federal grants, which will then go into the Resaca system to help us during heavy rainfall. So that's just something to think about.
And the last thing I'd throw out is please keep up the communication. I don't think it's possible to over communicate in this situation. And especially like I heard you guys mention 12 months from now, the prices of natural gas are projected to come down. I think putting something out there like that, showing a graph, showing the public, this is what the outlook is. And yes, it is a national problem so that they're aware of that, but showing that there should be light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that these are just projections. Everything's subject to change depending on what happens in the world and on the demand side. But I think over communicating can't be done. I think we need to get as much information out there as possible so that people understand that this isn't a Brownsville issue.
Mayor, I have two more questions real quick.
Sure.
And then also I wanted to ask, because I'm noticing now that the bills are very large on bills that I've seen just today, people have been sending them to me. If they're not able to pay their bill in full for 1 month, obviously they're getting a very heavy penalty now that the amount is much larger. Do you have any plans to lower that or remove that possibly while these large bills are coming in?
Yes, we can talk to the board. Everything you're talking about is doable. We can talk to the board about it and bring some recommendation. My takeaway was bring back the recommendations from council here tonight to the board. And then also look at funding opportunities, maybe as we talked about off-system sales, using some of that. And, come back to you maybe next month in October with a update.
And also, I just want to make sure that, and I'm sure you're doing this, but if you could bring it up to the board, that there is every option exhausted to collect even minimum payment, whatever, before a disconnection goes in. Because these are very big bills that are, hitting these families.
I understand the disconnect notice, but some of the programs, because these are federal programs, they require that disconnect notice to go out for them to be eligible. So a lot of the times, the disconnect notice is what triggers the eligibility.
Maybe that could be communicated because it's alarming when you have a disconnect notice and children to feed and bathe and.
We did discuss that potentially in the bills, whenever they get a disconnect notice, we are here to help. These are some of the programs. Please come and talk to one of our customer service representatives and that way the alarming that comes in here. So if you, maybe by this airing this communication out to the public, is we're here really to help the community. We're part of the community. As Mr. Brusiak said early on, we all feel it. We try everything that we do with the community in mind. And any investment that we make is for the betterment of the services that we provide. And we're not keeping any of the money for ourselves to be able to, it's just for the system improvements for the community and to help maintain the lower rates. Unfortunately, this is a national phenomenon. And I understand that the community out there may not see some of the other supply and demand issues. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It may not be now immediate, but it is later as more gas drilling is done and additional supply is available. That might help us. And I think that's an excellent idea, is communicating some of that information and some of the projections may be something we might start doing.
And then I cannot speak for the rest of the commission, but I would appreciate it if it wasn't in October and a lot sooner. Like maybe we could have a special meeting sooner.
That's the next meeting is in October.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
If we could see you very early, perhaps in a week or a special.
October meeting with progress or what we've done. I mean, our tenure is, again, to work closely. Your concerns are our concerns. And I can express for my board, it's a major concern.
Yes,
And
perhaps
so
we could,
we should all be able to work together on this.
next week, maybe have a
Help the
joint
customer. I
meeting.
mean, that's what we're here for.
I have one more comment. It's more of a comment than a question. We are having a lot of calls, I believe you all are, everybody on this board is as well. And we're getting comparisons that are not the same, right? We're getting a PUB bill with a Magic Valley bill. I think it's important just to continue to communicate through your pages and through everything, saying, hey, this is your cost of light by itself, and this is what you would compare to Magic Valley. I think that's the lowest one. We're like at 14.5 cents, I believe, and they are right now at 13.8, 13.5, somewhere around there. So it's about, on a 2,000 kilowatt home, that would be about $24.
But less than anything. Less.
It's, and I think that's the important number that we need to show, right? It's not, we shouldn't add the water to the comparison because we're comparing apples with pears.
Right.
And I
That's
think we
always
just
been-
got to communicate it and keep communicating that. And let everybody know exactly what the price is. All these other fees we have on there, well, let's explain them, I guess, right? I mean, it says what it is, but just, hey, this is not your light bill.
Right.
Right.
That's always been a problem for us with a large bill with a lot of things on it.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that comment because, the exercise that we did last week on looking at powertochoose.org, which is what people can use that are outside PUB territory, right? PUB is still very competitive across all those plans. And so being able to communicate that, I think, is very effective in showing the value that PUB provides to the community.
I agree. We probably don't say enough good things that we do. So people dwell on the bad things and don't know about the good things, but we need to do them.
And I have a couple of follow-up issues. If people are trying to get a hold of PUB and they can't get through, what's the best way to get their message across the PUB?
If they can't get through on the phone and it's something critical, the best thing is just come over.
Okay.
Even though we're doing things by appointment, if someone shows up, we take them in.
Right.
But that's the best thing I can say is if you can't get through on the phone and it's something really critical, just drive over and we'll have someone meet with them, customer service. Or somebody, one of us will meet with them. I mean, we're there. I mean,
Can you all add a letter with all these programs to your next bill? I mean, everybody receives a bill, right? So just add it there and give them the option of, this is what we're doing, this is what you can do. These are the programs. I mean, just a list of everything that can be done.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of people have told me I didn't change anything in my house. I continue, my AC is still at the same, and I get it, but it was just a lot hotter as well. So if you leave it at 70, it's gonna work an extra few hours. So your consumption will go up as well. So yeah, I just think it's important for us to give everybody options.
And can we put a link on our city website to those programs as well?
That'd be great. And also, I think there needs to be some thoughts about how to communicate to people that don't have internet. There's a big portion of our community, as we know, that don't have that access. So I think there needs to be some thought into how to reach those individuals. Like I did mention to you, like Commissioner Collins just said, inserts and bills are great because everybody gets them. We know that not everybody looks at inserts, but also perhaps putting something by where the amount is, because everybody's gonna look at that. But yeah, I think that there needs to be some thoughts on how to reach those customers that don't have access to internet or don't have access to your website. I can't tell you how many it is, but I know there's some out there. And I think those people, if they can't afford internet, they probably likely cannot afford to pay their bill or need some help paying their bill. So I think those people are the ones also that would like to know about the different services available. Those two entities that you mentioned that can help, I think they'd like to know about that. They probably just don't know. So in thinking about how to reach them, I think part of that should also be letting them know what is available to help.
We talked today, at noon today, Maryland had a suggestion, which I thought was good, is to go to different parts of the community. Southmost area, northern part, West Brownsville, and get a specific area over there and have us go over there and sit with the people and come in and we'll lay this all out. If we get 50 people, that's 50 more than we had today, right? But we're open to do that.
I think churches and community groups in those areas are key to hitting those demographics.
And also libraries, farmers market.
Food drives.
The housing
drives.
authority.
A lot of the people in my area that are older or fixed income, they get food from these food drives from the RGB Food Bank. And so just putting in a flyer or something, it might be of help. But most of the complaints that I've received is actually not from that demographic, which one would think was more worrisome. So on a positive note, given all the news about Puerto Rico and Jackson, Mississippi, I want to thank PUB for always planning ahead and investing in our infrastructure, because we haven't been in a situation like that, and people forget about that. When we go through a hurricane, we don't have these, like what Puerto Rico is facing now, where they have no water, where they have no light for days. The investment in our infrastructure for me, has been visible. And when people complain that their streets are taking too long to get reconstructed, well, it's because they're redoing the utilities in there. And so I appreciate that, especially like there's been a focus also on the streets in my area. Some of them have been really long, but at least they have new infrastructure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question on, I understand we have money from the Tenasca project that's in reserve, which is about $29 million. I know that it hasn't been allocated to any specific project, but could it be used for potential assistance in this situation?
Yes.
And if you divide, there's 50,000 roughly PUB accounts, that's about $600 an account. So it sounds like a huge number that we have in reserve, but if you spread it out, we have to evaluate the impact on the short-term and long-term for that.
But probably pay more dividends, putting it into the fuel factor some way to levelize things going forward, lowering it up front, and then have a good cushion going forward. So we're not dealing with these. If the gas prices go down even more, then you can maybe take some of that money out for something else. But the answer to your question is yes.
And to your point, Commissioner Cowan, I think that money is something that we definitely need to consider for this particular issue. I don't think there's just one solution for that. I think that the money can be used several different ways, perhaps in energy, allocating some monies to assist individuals with energy efficiency at their home, possibly helping offset or stabilize rates for certain individuals. There's different ways, and I have asked for administration to come up with some thoughts and different options for our board to consider.
We're going to try to do that by October.
I think that's an opportunity for sure.
Great, thank you.
And I would encourage you guys, and I like that we're thinking about these out-of-the-box solutions. Be judicious so in how we apply it. If we were saying like $600 per account, that's not something that I would want to take advantage of as a customer because I can afford it. Yes, my bill has doubled over the last 6 months, but I can live with the means that I've got. I'm gainfully employed. I make a good living. I'd be more concerned with those that are living check to check and are having to choose between the utility bill, food, or medication. Be judicious in how you all apply it if we come to a solution like that.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for your time. And again, we are dedicated full-time on this now. It's a priority to us. I mean, it's something we're working on every day. So
Thank
We'll
you,
update
guys.
Commission at the next meeting.
We'll see
Thank
y'all.
you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have consent agenda items.
Do we have any motions?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I did want to pull one out, Mayor.
Sure. Which one?
It is, I believe it's number 4. Yeah, number 4, just because I have a question on it.
Commissioner Galante, will you amend your motion?
Sure. I'll move to approve the consent agenda minus number 4 to be discussed separately.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Now item 4.
The financial services, there's the. And
Yes, sir.
I think there was a slide for this. The two things that caught my eye was one, and this was just a typo. In the packet that I saw, the resolution number was 2020, not 2022, like it was on the agenda. That's an easy correction. But I was not clear on understanding what the change is, other than saying there were changes, it looked like in a certain section. The amended investment policy, and I saw references to like a page 21, B, or B on page 21. But I didn't understand what did it look like before versus what it's going to look like now if we approve this.
Good afternoon, everybody, city commissioners, honorable mayor. The only changes that we did is that we add 2 additional accounts. It was Fund 2022 CO Fund and Fund 45. So if you compare against 2022 investment policy against the new policy, it's just the accounts that we're adding 2 additional accounts.
And which two are they again?
It was, 808 CO Fund. Let me see. And the other one, I believe it's Fund 45 Capital Improvement Projects. That was the only change. It's on the, it was on page 21.
Yeah, I'm looking at page 21.
Let's see. Okay, it's, the 2022 CO Fund and the TERS Fund, those are the ones that we add comparing to last year.
Okay. And I guess for me, it would just be, there's nothing that I saw that told me this is what's being added or this is what's being amended.
Yes.
I just saw that this is a change or there's a change somewhere in here, but I didn't know what the change was. That's why I wanted to ask.
Commissioner, in the
I
future, we can provide a red line so that you can be easily recognizable.
I
Thank
think
you.
that'd be good for future. Thank you all.
Yes.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item, we have public hearings. Public hearing and action on ordinance 2022-1711 relating to the issuance of the City of Brownsville, Texas Utility System Commercial Paper Notes, Series A, authorizing the substitution of the credit facility related thereto, resolving other matters incident and related to the replacement of the credit facility, including the approval, execution, and delivery of the reimbursement agreement, bank fee letter, and approving an offering memorandum in connection therewith, resolving other matters related thereto, and providing an effective date. Brownsville Public Utilities Board and City Manager's Office.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners. BPUB's commercial paper program is backed by an irrevocable letter of credit, which is about to expire here on November 7, 2022. Our current company is Bank of America. We did request for them to see if they can honor an extension, and they declined. And so we ended up initiating the RFP process. We sent out invitations to submit proposals to 74 firms, and we had 3 firms that actually responded. PNC Capital Markets, SMBC, Simu, Tomo, Mitsu Banking Corporation, and Wells Fargo. So a review committee comprised of 8 members, 3 members from the PUB staff, 3 from our financial advisors firm, Estrada Hinojosa, and 2 from our bond counsel. Oric Harrington evaluated submitted proposals. It was a unanimous priority to award the contract to PNC Capital Markets. We went ahead and a recommendation to award to PNC Markets was presented to the BPB board on September 12th, 2022, at which time they approved the resolution requesting commission consideration and approval of the supplemental ordinance. Here with us tonight, we do have Noe Hinojosa from Estrada Hinojosa, our financial advisor, and he's here to answer any questions the commission might have. The commission have any questions?
Is there any questions from the commission? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this item? We don't have a motion to close.
Motion to close?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, do I have a motion on the item?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing number 2, public hearing in action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-019 to rezone from light industrial to residential transition for 6.50 acres of land of Block 39 Brownwell Tract, El Jardín Subdivision, Share 28, Espiritu Santo Grant, located at 1705 North Minnesota Avenue, District 2, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners. This request is to rezone this property from light industrial to residential transition. The purpose is for a multifamily development. It will be fronting North Minnesota Avenue. This is the aerial view. There were 10 mailouts and 0 written opposition. This is a zoning map of the area. There is some light industrial, there is some residential, single family, some residential, multifamily as well, and some commercial within the area. This is a street view. This is another aerial view. Across the street, there is an existing apartment complex. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and future land use plan. P&Z did recommend approval to rezone from light industrial to residential transition R3. Staff does want to point out that there was verbal opposition at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on September 3rd. Verbal opposition, yes.
From an adjacent business or something?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
What business opposed?
Directly abutting the property, there is an industrial warehouse. They just believe that it's not an adequate use for the area.
Okay.
What's their access? Because I can't tell from the map. How do they access the main street? Like either Minnesota or whatever's behind?
There's a public street, Champion Drive.
Okay, but they do have access?
Yes, they do have access.
And there's already apartments nearby.
Yes, actually directly across the street on Champion Drive.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this item?
Move to close.
Yes, sir. Come on up. Come on up. Just, please, sir, just say your name and step up to the podium.
Good afternoon, good evening. I want to address this commission just to tell you that you see I'm the owner with my wife of this land. We have been doing business in Brownsville since 1992. We have done to see very, very successful operations here. We're also operating in Laredo right now. And we have a almost 20-acre land. So we are trying to find good use for the one at the front. I believe that this is a good opportunity now. We believe in Brownsville. We want to invest here. And if we get this rezoning, we are considering to do a complex of apartments, probably around 80 or 90. that probably will be very useful because we're very close to the port. People come and work, and then we are close to the airport as well, to Boca Chica. And I certainly we believe in Brownsville, and we will be very happy to support you to the economic growth here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to District 2. I'll move to close.
Motion to close, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, do I have a motion on the item?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have one question for staff. I was a little curious as I saw this was presented as the surrounding area is predominantly residential or multifamily. But when I look at the map, I don't agree with that assessment. I almost see like an equal balance between light industrial, commercial corridor. I do see some residential and multifamily. But if I hadn't looked at that and looked at the surrounding area, to have just seen the surrounding area is predominantly residential and multifamily already, to me, that would have been misleading.
Well, we base it off of the uses that are on the ground, not necessarily the existing zoning. So what's on the ground, we do a rough calculation on the GIS map. And so what comes out as predominant is residential uses in the combination of both single family and multifamily.
Okay. How far out do you go when you're making that assessment?
It depends on the size of the property as well, because we try and focus on to cover the entirety of the property. But in this particular case, it seems that it's around half a mile.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We did have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Public hearing number 3, public hearing in action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-020 to rezone from light industrial to residential transition for an approximate 49.95 acres and commercial corridor for an approximate 13.48 acres, all out of a 63.43 acres comprised of track 1 being 13.14 acres, track 2 being 10.34 acres, track 3 being 11.74 acres, and track 4 being 28.21 acres, more or less, all out of track 38. Paredes partition of shared 19, Espiritu Santo Grant, located near the southeast intersection of Paredes Line Road and FM 511, District 3, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
This request is to downzone the property from light industrial to residential transition and commercial corridor. This development will be of multi-uses. It will have single-family, multifamily, and retail business. The property is fronting FM 511 and Paredes Line Road.
Can you go back to the one before? Okay.
So this is a 200-foot buffer map. There were 13 mailouts and 3 written oppositions. Staff does want to point out that this is an opposed case. It did surpass the 20% threshold. The results were 34%. We do have a map further on the presentation.
Where the opposition, will it show where the opposition came from?
The neighboring properties to the east and to the south.
Was it written?
Yes.
Okay, did they state any particular reasons? Do we know?
The character of the proposed use not fitting into the surrounding industrial environment and the future plans of this area that are intended to be industrial. This is the zoning map. As you can see, a lot of the area is light industrial and high industrial. There are some residential single family, commercial corridor, and agricultural district. This is an aerial view. This is the proposed distribution of the development. It will, like I said, it will have single family homes. multifamily lots and commercial lots as well. And this is the result of the protested case, 33.4%. And so P and Z did recommend approval to rezone from a light industrial to residential transition and commercial corridor.
Can you go back to the one before? That shows, that is a map showing the opposition, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the blue is the opposition?
Correct.
Okay.
So it
Is
was
that-
my understand, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I had heard that the National Park Service also had objection.
Yes, they sent, well, they called us, but we did not receive anything in writing.
They don't fall, excuse me, they don't fall within the protest area, do they? As far as the notification requirements? Okay.
Correct.
So is that all GBIC?
A portion of it is GBIC, and then we have the adjacent property, which is owned by Soltex LLC.
Is that to the right or to the left?
To the east,
To the
property directly abutting the east.
So right next,
So the question, as I see it, is do we want to approve residential in the middle of what we're trying to develop as an industrial area?
That's
Am
the
I right?
question.
Basically, yep. And I'm not sure there's anybody that's here to speak on this, but we can ask them. But it does look like there is, I mean, some planned and industrial use on the adjacent property. So it's just a matter of, do we want to approve a large residential development, commercial development in that area or not? And is there only one way in and one way out based on the current plan?
Can you repeat the question?
Is there one way in and one way out? I mean, is there
There's
like a main entrance for the development or is there others?
multiple access points.
Okay.
I would say that in District Two, we have a lot of areas where these neighborhoods have been developed next to industrial areas, and it is a massive headache for the people that live there. So I don't think I can support that because I know what comes later.
This is a public hearing, sir? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to say something on behalf of the property owner who's requesting this change. If you look at the larger map, you're going to see that everything to the west of Paredes Line Road has been earmarked for industrial development.
Hold on. Can we pull that, what he's talking about? I think it was just the one before. Yeah, okay.
Go to the other. Yeah, if you look at that, you can see there on to the right, to the left side of the earmarked property. That's on the other side of Paredes Line Road. It's 1,000 acres. Gibbik owns most of it, and it's been earmarked for industrial development. But on the east side of Paredes Line Road, if you really think about it, that's all right now. It's Monte, as you all know. But all the land to the north of 511 is the national park. But all around the national park is residential development. It's owned by a company out of McAllen. And the Toltec people who own to the east of the subject property are also contemplating to do residential development. So I'm not sure what they're thinking, but other than they maybe want to stifle somebody who's trying to start a residential development. But to the south of the subject tract is the Brownsville Industrial Park, which, you know, if you think about it, it's going to be a good layering effect because the Brownsville Industrial Park is going to be there. Then you're going to have residential. And then on the north side, you're going to have the Palo Alto National Park. So it's not, I don't see how it could compete or cause any confusion because really all of the industrial development that's been projected by the city of Brownsville is to the west side of Paredes Line Road. That's where the water filtration plant is, and all of that is on the west side, not on the east side of Paredes. So it's not really detrimental to industrial development because there's plenty of land for industrial development and light industrial development as it's been termed. And this really shouldn't really conflict because it's only 43 acres. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have another question. And Helen, I know the the review is still being done on that property of how it would be developed, the industrial area. You know what I'm talking about? And is it possible that some business could go in there that was loud or created smoke or some kind of odor that might bother the residential development there? Because this line road is not a wall, it's just a road, and wind blows back and forth over roads.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the commission. We are one of the adjacent property owners as the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, and we are opposing the rezoning for some of the reasons that have been mentioned here, some of the concerns that you've all voiced. We understand that most of the industrial development that is happening right now is directly south where we are at, but we do have on the north side of our park have heavy industrial zoning designations that may, by virtue of the zoning, allow emissions or loud noises to migrate to the north side since the prevailing winds are coming mainly from the southeast. So there are concerns about that mainly. Another one of the things that we would like to point out is that this is on an overweight corridor. 511 is an overweight corridor that was designed to carry the weight burden to the Port of Brownsville, and this is the avenue to the Port of Brownsville. This is where our industrial park that's going to be developed to the west of here. This is where mainly the traffic of that 730-acre development will be traveling through. And just for your consideration, we would like for you to think about the residential traffic that may be generated from a 49, acre development that may be, a hindrance to that industrial movement. Not only that, but, there's quite an investment that is happening in terms of connecting the industrial corridor to the port, to the port connector, and then eventually to the East Loop, which will carry all of this traffic to the international bridges. So for those reasons, we would like for you to consider that it may not be the best spot for residential development. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions if you have any for me.
Commissioner Gowan. I believe
Yes.
there was a question as to whether this might create some kind of responsibility or liability to the city. It's actually my opinion that because they're assuming the least intensive coming into a more intensive zoning area, that the city's liability would be minimal. Rather, this would be a civil dispute or civil claims that they would have against each other at that point if any were to occur. But I just wanted to clarify that from the city's perspective, by granting this rezoning request, it would not, in effect, create any additional liabilities to the city related to noise or obstructions like that.
I would also like to add that the city of Brownsville is trying to increase its industrial tax base. And we have limited places where we are designated as industrial. And, every day we see asks, for industrial that has been recently updated in the upgraded zoning map that are requesting to be turned into residential. So, as we're trying to develop Brownsville into a more, balanced development pattern where industrial is more than the existing 3%, that's something that is definitely of concern to the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
like that the city is looking at the long-term plan for the area because we've invested so much into that park.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when we looked at the budget, we talked about diversification of land uses. And given that you have the North Brownsville Industrial Park right now to the south, understanding that is not completely developed. But there is truck traffic in and around that, the loop in the corridor right now. And that's only at, very minimal percentage built out. So as they keep developing it, we'll see more of a trucking intensive corridor on Paredes leading to the overweight corridor.
And how far away is that from being a reality?
Right now, we
Yeah, like,
have
how
trucks.
far away are we from actually seeing trucks travel down? Are you talking about 511 specifically?
They're already there. We get calls all the time with truck traffic there. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes they park there and we have to ask them not to park. But some of them, with one company opening up and the other three being developed, we're already seeing it now.
What about on Paredes? Are you seeing any issues on Paredes with trucks?
Mostly on GPIC Circle. We've been called by the current property owner there with concerns on the trucks stopping there and staying there for a long extended period of time on our concrete GPIC Circle. So I've had to ask Chief Salceda and up the communications to the truck drivers that, to not park there for extended period of time. So there is a need there and there is a presence there even with the park undeveloped.
What about to the southwest? Is that a residential development? It looks like density. I just can't tell what kind of density that is.
Martin?
Martin?
Yes, it is a residential development.
Immediately to the southwest?
Yes,
Okay.
there is some single-family residences with a combination of commercial development.
And that's all, it's already platted and built? I mean,
No,
no?
those are all unplatted lots.
They're all what, I'm sorry?
Unplatted lots.
Okay. But the intent there is to continue to develop that residentially?
Well, it has been shifting more towards commercial.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. The reason I'm asking that is because obviously I understand the ingress and egress on 511 with trucks and concerns there, but I don't know how many entrances we have or exits. So I would anticipate that there's much less concern coming out on Paredes, being that there's another residential development there. So I'm not sure if there's any entrances or exits possibly being planned there that would help offset some of those concerns.
In what particular area?
On Paredes, that's what's immediately to the left, right?
Right.
Okay. So is there any exits or entrances that come out through there? Because if there's a concern about trucks running cars over on 511, then I would anticipate that they could exit through Paredes, right?
Right. They do have some access points going onto Paredes and one going onto FM 511.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I think we have some other speakers.
Yes.
so.
There's a couple people behind you.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you so much for giving me just a few moments. I'd like to share with you a little different perspective.
Hold on, before you start, can you just let us know your name? Because they're keeping minutes, so we just got to make sure we know who the speakers are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Liz Vera, and I'm a Texas real estate broker. I've been a broker for 20 years, and my name of my company is Liz Realty, and I have my agents here who've been working on this project as well. Before I became a broker, I was a high school teacher for 35 years, and I'm very vested in this community and the growth as well as the commissioners. We do our little part here and also in trying to integrate new ideas and trying to develop in our own way and helping other people, such as this Haduma group that came into town that is very serious about making more affordable homes. As most of us know, the prices of homes have gone absolutely outrageous. And however, this particular area is going to be bringing medium-sized to affordable homes. So I think that that's something that's very well needed. I think we have, in terms of the supply and demand chain, we do lack a lot of that at that certain area of affordable homes for people in our community. I first of all would like to highlight, I'd like to first of all thank my team back here, Charlie Vera, who's been working on it, Lenny Vera as well, and on this mission. And I'd like to highlight a couple of things about this project that perhaps are maybe unknown to the commissioners and the audience. Firstly, the estimated taxes to the city of Brownsville after the project completion will be approximately $6 million per year. Currently, the city is receiving only about 18,000, so that is certainly an upgrade. Secondly, Brownsville PUB connections fees estimated over $1 million. So the PUB will have also, maybe they can reduce their fees with that kind of money as well. And thirdly, the Haduma Group is not asking for any help from the Texas Reinvestment Zone Fund. The Haduma Group will be using their own private money and banks to fund this project. And they do believe in Brownsville. Finally, the land has been barren and dormant in Brownsville for the past 40 years. It's time to include this land in the fertile growth Brownsville has been experiencing in the housing market. Moreover, creating more affordable homes and commerce for the community in this area for Brownsville is needed as well. We trust that Brownsville will continue to experience success with entrepreneurs such as this group investing in our future. And for the note, and any of you that are concerned, if it does come up in terms of the railway, and the group has designated 9 acres as a buffer designated between the tracks, between the actual housing and the railway, south of the railway. So it's just a different perspective that I think that if everybody looks at it in a different perspective, maybe you're able to certainly consider this, as we do need affordable homes in our area. And that place is a wonderful area in which to develop. Also, the group has decided to do a biking trail that will continue, and it'll merge with the one already there. And they will have a jogging trail as well for anyone to use. Thank you.
Ms. Vera, can you elaborate a little bit on the pricing of the homes? You say affordable, but
Affordable, we're looking, the median price right now for people that are looking for a home, they don't want to go over 200, maybe 199. 199 sounds like a good deal. We're looking at trying to get other builders to come on in and do the affordable homes in 199, maybe 200. Right now, everything is $250,000 and up. And then with the interest rates, nobody can afford that. So we want to be able to service that population that has been unable to afford a home and that's able to go there. Of course, we will have mixed use. It's a master plan community. So you're going to have some condominiums, I believe. We're going to have some duplexes as well in the rental. Townhouses as well. So you're going to have a very nice variety of a community there that I think will service that area. A lot of people from even in the Brownsville area right there, they commute to Los Fresnos, to Bayview and so forth. So that's a really focal point. Now, mind you, there is also other subdivisions such as the Sunlight subdivisions already on there. I believe there's 4 subdivisions. So this is certainly not the first subdivision. It's not the first rodeo in that area. So I think that this will be a really a good nexus, kind of connecting our community with the other communities as well. And I think it's a wonderful project. In my 20 years of experience, I do believe wholeheartedly that this is something very beneficial to the city of Brownsville and to all the citizens who may not be able to afford a home.
never thought we'd see the time where 200,000 is considered affordable in Brownsville, but okay, we're there. Thanks.
I would just say that whoever is developing this, it's very much welcomed in Brownsville, and they definitely came to the right team, because I know how you have Brownsville in your heart and you know it like the back of your hand. But this one is very hard for me only because I have so many homes that are so close to industrial, and I get the calls all the time. 2 o'clock, I even get called at 2 in the morning. They're making noise, this and this. So that one breaks my heart, but I know that you are the right person, and I know that you have dedicated so much of your time and effort to Brownsville, and you love what you do, and you're the best at what you do. So thank you again for this project.
And thank you very much. We're very happy to be here, and we plan to stay. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns from the commission?
I'm going to go on the record and say I'm going to abstain because I'm not sure if I'm conflicted with my own property that's within the proximity, and I don't know if we got a notice or not because I'm one of many owners.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Is there a motion to close public hearing in the second? Is there any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And there was a mention of the type of vote that's needed for this item because it's opposed.
Supermajority.
How many votes is that?
6.
Okay. Right.
So in this case, the abstention works. You still need 6.
Okay. All right, do we have any motions on this item?
Microphone.
Is there a way that we could require a significant buffer to protect whatever could potentially come in?
Who would
between-
you want to put that burden on, though? A residential neighborhood or the industrial side?
Well, I think they already have a buffer for 9 acres.
To the south, yeah, with the railroad. That's my understanding. Is that what that thing is on the bottom?
That is correct.
Okay, so that going down on the south that makes that little curve, that's railroad then, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Where are we
So there
talking?
is a buffer there of 9 acres, so 9 of the 40-something is that buffer to the south for railroad.
Commissioner Tetra, to your point, I'd caution the city away from conditioning any kind of zoning. It's just not permitted. I understand the sentiment or the compromise that you want to accomplish. I think there might be other tools that the city can use for that, but
Okay,
to condition the zoning would be, I just wouldn't recommend.
okay.
Martin, has it been decided or not yet, how many cuts into the Battlefield Trail this will create in terms of ingress or egress?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many access points to the trail will there be?
Intersections for cars.
Intersections for cars, I believe she said.
Okay.
Do you
intersection.
mean the ingress and egress points to the subdivision?
Right, like
That would
in
cross
other
the
words,
trail.
are there gonna be 2 or 3 new streets that have to cut through the Battlefield Trail? Or do we know yet?
No, there's only gonna be 2. They're actually proposing, the connection to the trail is gonna be directly on the western, property line of the development. So there is a branch off coming off of the overpass, and that's where they will be connecting. I believe it's 2 connections.
So 2 cuts through the Battlefield Trail for cars?
No, not cars themselves. It'll be off of the exterior sidewalk or along the perimeter of the development.
I guess I don't understand your answer, Martin. Where will a car
Martin,
be
there
able?
looks like a 2-lane road. I don't know if I'm reading them.
So there's
road-
the
the-
road alongside of the overpass. And so by ordinance, every new development requires a sidewalk on the outer perimeter. So that sidewalk is gonna be connecting to the trail.
Yes, sir, but is there, I guess the question, is there a 2-lane road that intersects Paredes? That would cut the trail?
The trail. She wants to know if there's a car going over the trail.
No, no.
So the only way a car gets in or out is off of 511?
No, it's on isn't it on the
The,
opposite
the way
side?
the trail is designed is coming off of the overpass.
No, the existing trail. The existing trail that's on Paredes. Are there going to be any entrances or exits that cross that trail? Is
Well,
I think
only
the commissioner's
entrance is
question.
the existing entrance that comes off of the overpass. So there's no connection, or new connection that's going to be established.
I think somebody
That-
can answer
Okay, I
that.
follow what you're saying. I understand.
Okay, Martin, behind you.
I designed the subdivision here. There's gonna be one entrance through Paderes. There's gonna be an exit, and also an entrance through 511. As far as what she's asking, is there gonna be, an interruption for the bike trail? Well, yes, there is when people are gonna be entering the subdivision. But obviously, we're gonna put signs up there saying bike trail, like we have along all these streets.
So what I'm asking is if you're on either walking, strolling your stroller or riding let's say on Morrison Trail in front of Target, there are multiple cuts through the Morrison Trail to get into and out of the development of Target. That's a very uncomfortable thing, especially for older people or younger children. I would not vote for that many interruptions into the trail because it's a national recreational trail, the only one south of San Antonio. So one cut is one thing, 2, 3 cuts is a totally different story.
Well, the trail that you're saying it's north of his subdivision on the other side of that overpass that we have. So when we'll be south of that, there's only going to be one entrance towards the subdivision. And right now, for instance, on the bike trail, is there an overpass for the bike trail? Or we have to cross Paderes?
The bike trail goes over the overpass, or is the overpass. So the exit off of Paredes is the entrance to the subdivision. So there's no new entrance being created. It's already there.
Okay, that's
That's
an
why-
important, it may seem silly to some, but it's a very important point. No new cuts through the National Recreational Trail. Other than the existing one that I understand what you're saying on that little road that goes to the side.
Is that correct? I want to make sure Commissioner Gowan understands.
Yes, it's the existing exit off of the overpass.
Okay.
That would be going into the subdivision.
Okay,
So
so
there
there's not
wouldn't be
any,
new ones.
there's not any new disruptions to the trail?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner.
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? I would second it. Is there any additional discussion?
I think the one comment I'd make is I know for years we've seen the problems with trucks and regular commuter traffic in our city. And we've worked very hard to get to a point where we've got a heavyweight corridor like this to funnel that truck traffic away from where everyday families are traveling. And I think that's something we're going to accomplish in the coming years with the East Loop as well. So, and I even question the wisdom of the R1 that I saw in there further to the east when we saw the different colored map on there, because I think everything along 550 should focus on the industrial, the heavyweight, the truck traffic. And it doesn't make sense to me to put families back in with 18-wheelers when we've been working so hard to get away from that.
I share your concern.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, we
Nay.
have Commissioner Tetra's name. Okay, we have 4 nays, so the motion dies or fails.
Microphone.
I'm sorry. the microphone-
We
the
heard
mic-
it.
The microphone police got me. I think this is an excellent project and I want to see it come to Brownsville. And I know that the Veta Liz Realty does an amazing job. They're wonderful. But I get almost every week a complaint from somebody in my district where this has happened. And it's a nuisance to every single home. That, it's affordable housing, the house looks beautiful. But what do you do when you're there trying to sleep and there's activity going on?
And I agree with you, Commissioner. I'd
there
love
is-
to live in this development, just not in this location.
There is
It's
another
beautiful.
one further down, correct? I think 70 acres that we approved a few months ago.
Further down?
Yeah.
No.
No.
There's one further up on Paredes.
Like 70 acres, is that one?
That might be the one that we're
Okay.
getting the noise complaints.
Well, there's one on Paredes that was proposed a couple of months back, but it's further north, a couple of miles maybe, getting closer to Los Fresnos. But it hasn't gone into development.
Okay.
We're still actually pending the application for the subdivision.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the motion failed. Next item?
Public hearing number 4. Public hearing in action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-021 to rezone from agricultural to residential single family for 11.84 acres out of a 197.7 acre tract out of blocks 9, 10, and 13, Swan Nelson subdivision, Share 12, Espiritu Santo Grant, located near the intersection of Lake Charles Drive and Abrico Road, Los Fresnos, Texas. District 3, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
So this is a rezone from agricultural to residential single family. The purpose is for a single family development. This is for Cajun Farm subdivision. It's actually phase 3 of this development. The property is fronting Lake Charles Drive and Aberdeen Road. This is an aerial view of the property. There were 200-foot buffer maps and 72 mailouts and 0 written opposition. Can you switch to the next slide, please? Oh, thank you. This is the zoning map. What predominates in the area is agriculture. There is also residential single family for the existing phases of the subdivision. This is a street view. The aerial view. And P&Z does recommend approval to rezone from agricultural to residential single family R1.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here on this item? We have a motion to close?
Motion close.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Do we have any motions on the item?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Public hearing number 5, public hearing in action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-022-S to rezone from traditional neighborhood corridor to regional center with a specific use permit to allow a used car lot for Lot 18, Block 12, East Brownsville Addition Subdivision, located at 1435 Southmost Road, District 1, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
So the request for this property is to rezone from residential center with a specific use permit to allow a used car lot. The current zoning is traditional neighborhood corridor, and this property is fronting Southmost Road. This is a 200-foot buffer map. There were 27 mailouts and 0 written opposition. What predominates in the area is residential uses. There are commercial uses along the Southmost corridor. The zoning in the area is traditional neighborhood corridor and traditional neighborhood, along with some light industrial to the north. This is a street view. There is a residential home to the rear of this property and directly to the left. And there is an existing car lot to the right.
The house that you're showing, is that on the lot itself? You said immediately to the rear, but is that on the property? Because the property looks like it has something.
Yes, it's a single family home.
Okay,
The one directly to the left.
but it's not on the same property though.
No, it's not on the same
Okay.
property. It's a different property.
It used to be a home, but then it was a restaurant and it was, correct?
Yes, it used to
Okay.
be a home at some point, then it was a restaurant, and right now they're proposing a used car lot.
Is that a car lot to the right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So I actually spoke to 2 property owners in the area and they were both opposed, but, the reason I spoke to them directly is because the tendency in my part of town is that people don't like to be confrontational and they don't want to ruffle feathers. So, plus, I drove by there this afternoon and there were already a lot of cars parked. Can they already start running the business there?
No.
Is it an issue? Sorry. Is it an issue? Car lots usually get those, trailers that have like 10, 15 cars on them. Do they have sufficient place to unload? That lot looks pretty.
So part of the requirements that we establish One of them is to precisely address that concern because we have received multiple calls in the past where neighboring properties want to address their, or have addressed their safety concerns when they have this 18-wheeler in the middle of Southmost blocking a lane to deliver the vehicles for inventory. So one of the conditions or one of the requirements is for them to be able to do safe unloading within their property and not block a lane from the public right of way.
So we recently approved one on the corner of Boca Chica in Minnesota, and I saw them unloading and it gave me a headache because they were blocking Boca Chica. So that's why I ask.
Yes, well, that's one of the requirements.
Very unsafe, yeah.
Yes.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here on this item? Okay.
I move to close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close in a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll
Opposed?
move to oppose
We have a motion to oppose who?
the rezoning request.
Was that you? Okay, I couldn't hear. Okay.
Sorry.
We do have a motion to oppose from Commissioner Galante. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second in opposition. Those in favor?
Add discussion, Mayor,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
Yeah.
Discussion, please.
And microphone. I grew up on Southmost, and Southmost has been seeing more and more mom and pop used car lots since I was in high school, and that was 30 years ago. Even within just the corridor from International Boulevard to 14th right there, there's several that are car-oriented businesses, from doing audio to used car lots to garages, mechanic shops. This isn't something that would be a huge departure from that. And typically, and my family used to have a used car business in Laguna Vista years ago. And typically, these mom and pop businesses, they're going to auctions and buying the vehicles and driving them back. They're not purchasing multiple automobiles for delivery by carrier. So I don't see this as being detrimental to this neighborhood. I think this fits in exactly with what this has been evolving to for the last 30 years. I know I've even had body work done just 4 lots over from that on the corner of Southmost and 14th Street. So I think this actually fits in with it. I don't think we should be denying the rezoning.
Okay, any additional discussion?
As the commissioner of that area, I get complaints about the alleys there, back there on a regular basis because of these businesses. There's a window tinting business in the corner that seems to keep unkept. Then there's a bar close by also that the patrons probably a little bit tipsy. They go and bump into people's fences. So I get a lot of complaints for those alleys, especially considering that there's a one residential home. He used to be a Brownsville fireman who lives there and lives right next. I'm concerned for him. Does he want a used car? When I spoke to him, he said no. But I can understand why he wouldn't come here.
No, and a lot of those, they sound like code enforcement issues though also. And I think that's something that the city has been derelict about. We get complaints from all over town, and we're not doing enough to enforce. And part of that is because the lack of manpower. And I understand that completely. But I wouldn't want to tell a property owner, well, you can't do something to better yourself because we are not keeping up with code enforcement and we've got a lot of complaints.
But the property was zoned for a restaurant. They want to change it again. So they bought it knowing that they could do a restaurant. Now they gambled on the fact that they can get a rezoning.
And now they're asking to do what several of the neighbors are doing already.
I would be in favor of it as long as they understand not to park the trailer on the street, because that is a major safety issue. And when I say it, I mean it, because somebody came here before and promised they wouldn't, but that I saw them doing it. So, then we have to send code enforcement, but we do it in good faith. So in good faith, keep that neighborhood safe.
And Martina, I do have a question. Based on the rendering and the plan here, how many cars actually fit on there? Because I'm only seeing spaces for like 5 cars.
Well, they're actually proposing 6 spaces.
6, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, 7 spaces. But the code, based on the area of the lot and the area of the structure, does require 8. So that's something that has also been discussed with the owner.
But how many, what are we being asked to approve, 6 or 8?
Well, this is what they proposed. However, this will not be the final site plan.
Okay. Because, I mean, if it's only 6, I don't see much of a disruption considering that the adjacent property is a car lot as well.
Martin, will they have to follow the same? I remember we did one recently where they had to have, the code said they had to have wall and stuff like that.
Yes, that's correct. We do
The
that for every
privacy
Does that apply?
area.
That applies here as well?
That is correct.
Okay.
Wait,
Right.
are you
Even
saying
though-
that they propose, oh, sorry, that they propose to have 6 cars only on the lot?
Well, they're proposing 7 parking spaces. The code doesn't really denote as to what has to be for customers and what has to be for inventory.
Okay, when I passed by at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they already have 8 cars parked on there.
Martin, can you condition it to have a maximum number of spaces or not?
Not-
Is it, given it's a SUP?
Yes,
That-
since it's a specific use permit, the commission can go ahead and put a condition if they wish to.
This is an SUP.
Sir, did you wish to speak? Yes. Okay. Are you going to address the questions?
I'm sorry?
Can you address the questions then? Because
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Omar Sanchez, and I'm representing the owner for this property. And I'm pretty sure we can work something with the city as far as, as far as the requirements for the city, and as far as the trailers, we're not gonna put a trailer on the road. Basically, we're just drive the vehicles to the car lot.
Okay.
So there's not gonna be a trailer park on the southern road.
So do you only bring the cars, you just drive them, you don't use a
Drive 'em
trailer?
Straight to the car lot.
Okay, you don't use a trailer to bring them?
We don't use trailers, no.
Okay.
I'm gonna
But like I
check.
said, yes,
So you already have cars parked there, right?
right now, yes.
Sí. Todavía tenías espacio para más. ¿Tienes pensado seguirle llenando?
Sí, bueno, creo que lo más que le caben son como 10 carros.
El problema es que máximo puedes tener 8 por código.
8, bueno, sí, está bien, ¿verdad? O sea, no le pondría más de 8, pero ya apretados sí le caben como 10, pero si la regla es 8, podemos meter, no, o sea, con 8 está bien.
Y la cosa es que luego, si no entran los carros ahí, luego se empiezan a estacionar en el lado y luego en la calle.
Sí, sí, eso fue lo que hablé con Martín, y que no quería ningún carro parado sobre la calle, todos tienen que estar adentro de la oficina para que no obstruya el tráfico ahí por esa calle.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Okay, we did have a motion and a second to deny the request. And we're still in discussion. Any other discussion? Those in favor of denying?
Aye.
We have 2 ayes.
Aye.
Anybody else?
I'm a third.
Okay, Commissioner Gowan is opposed as well. Those in,
She's in favor of denying.
right. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so then that motion fails. Is there any other motions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a
I'll
second?
second, and if I could, Commissioner Tetru, I'd like to recommend approval with this, but as far as the walls, I'm for walls, but not requiring that they be masonry. And that's consistent with what we've done with the other car lots we've approved recently
So move.
and seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have 2 nays and Commissioner Gowan as well, 3 nays. So 4-3 motion passes. Thank you.
And I'm gonna check.
Public hearing number 6, public hearing in action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-023 to rezone from residential estate to commercial corridor for all of Lot 7, Block 306, El Jardín re-subdivision located on the northwest corner of California Road and South Indiana Avenue, District 2, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
So this request might seem a bit familiar to you. It was presented a couple months ago here at the commission. The request is to rezone from residential estate to commercial corridor. At that point in time, back in July, it was presented as only rezoning 1 acre out of the 3 acres that comprises the property. The proposed uses for a mechanic shop and a commercial development, and the property is fronting California Road and South Indiana Avenue. Back in July, this case was denied by the commission. This is the aerial view there and the 200-foot buffer map. There were 20 mailouts and 0 written opposition. However, we did receive a couple of phone calls with concerns regarding to the use not being or fitting into the character of the residential neighborhood that's adjacent, and increase in property taxes and safety concerns related to traffic.
Let me jump in really quick. There's been a couple items already where you mentioned phone calls. Can you have those people submit written opposition? Because phone calls, I don't know if you're verifying where they live, who they are. So anybody can call in and say, I'm not in favor of this. So
Yes,
I don't want to
They do provide.
get into doing that.
Staff does mention to them or does recommend submitting written opposition, but some are afraid or just want to be kept anonymous, or some are.
Well, I'm going to say that's not going to work because we don't know where those people are coming from. And you have written opposition for a reason. So if they're not willing to put written opposition in, I don't even want it mentioned at the meetings. Because we can't verify it.
But that's the problem that today for the case we just heard, I reached out to 2 property owners that are adjacent because I know that they're right next door, but I know that they also don't want to get in trouble with who could be their neighbors.
I totally get that and I agree with that. But what I'm saying is I'm not hearing that there's any verification of where these people live when we're getting phone calls, right? So I think there needs to be some sort of verification process because otherwise anybody can call in from anywhere and just say, hey, Martin, I'm against this. That's
Well,
not the process.
And Mayor, Commissioners, I understand the issues about people not wanting to come and sign. But our UDC actually requires that there be a signed and verified accounting for those to trigger the supermajority, which is the purpose of submitting their objection.
And that's why I'm mentioning it because I just don't want to keep hearing about phone calls at meetings because I don't want to set that precedent. There's a process in place. It's a requirement. It just needs to be followed. Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely note that, and we will just omit any phone calls or concerns that are submitted verbally via phone.
Well, I mean, they just need to submit it in writing as per the process, even
Right.
if they're,
That are not verifiable.
right.
So let me ask this question. If somebody sends in a letter with an objection and it says, I'm so-and-so, I'm a neighbor, and I object, how do we verify that today? What are we doing to verify it?
So we go based off of the information that is in Cameron Cat.
Mhm.
So we will find the property on Cameron Cat. We will verify the address and the property owner's information that was provided to us. Now, when it's a formal written opposition, there is a form that's in place that is submitted to us that gets notarized. That's what we take as.
That's notarized, okay.
Right.
In council, that's what's required? Formal written opposition?
Yes.
Okay.
It's state.
Realize that's the
statute.
process, but it's prejudicial to people who have to work low income that maybe have to take care of their kids, and then come all the way out here. So it is a little bit burdensome for.
I understand, and if there's some way for like planning department to facilitate a form that, like a blank form that they could sign and mail in, or just like a further encouragement for them to, and maybe an explanation of why it's needed.
And
Because
you
if
know
it's
what?
not needed, then it's not.
There may be a process even, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if somebody wants to submit something anonymously, if staff verifies that that anonymous person falls within the guidelines of adjacent property owner, can that still be submitted if verified by staff?
For the purposes of presenting it to the commission, that could be an option. To be realistic, if somebody submitted, and only if somebody submitted a public information request, that would not be redactable.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure this out because I
No,
understand.
understood.
Commissioner Galansky can go and verify it herself, right? And staff isn't able to do that. So what I'm trying to eliminate
Got to be
is
some process.
just having a couple people called in. That's not going to work. So
What about,
Well, but how would they find out? You know, like unless they receive the letter.
they're supposed to get the letter.
Yeah. So you're not gonna get random calls from someone on the other side of town saying, I'm opposed to this, because how
Well,
would they
you
find out
could.
that's happening? You know?
Yeah, I
Does
don't
the
know.
letter itself give an option of opposition?
The agenda's
or-
posted.
Or approval? Because that's another, I know in Los Angeles County, when you receive a letter, they give you the option of oppose or support that you can mail in. It's kind of like a pretty standard form. And so my dad gets it. So he'll say, and actually in Spanish too. So it's both sides and you can submit it, mail it, and it has the address and you just
I like
support or
that.
oppose it.
And besides, you still have to have the majority of the surrounding oppose. It's not
20%.
Yeah,
it's
and it's
not
like a
like one
prefabricated
person
English
that
and
wants
Spanish.
to be anonymous really affects the entire neighborhood or triggers the supermajority unless they own the entire property. I mean, then it's pretty obvious it's them. So,
what does the letter say today? Does it encourage people to call in if they have opposition, or does it make it clear that they need to submit opposition in writing?
No, well, the letter for announcing the zoning case, well, it doesn't provide any instruction as to submitting an opposition. It just says, if you have questions, please contact the office to, pose your concerns. And at that moment, when we
And
receive
it
the
provides a phone
call,
number?
then yes.
Okay.
Yes.
and I kind of like that better than the oppose or for, because you kind of have to learn what's going to happen, or if you have any questions, is there going to be a buffer, this or that?
No, I agree, and I think it's helpful to get answers from staff. My concern is if we're telling them right now, this is gonna change, and if you have any questions or if you're opposed to this, call us.
Yeah,
And they're calling us, and now we're saying, if they're only calling, we don't want to hear their opposition.
I see.
That would be my concern. I like the idea of a form where they can check off and send it back, and maybe even if it's prepaid postage, so they don't even have to worry about going out and buying a stamp. But that way they can do that, put that back in the mail, their opposition is now received in writing. I'd
Well,
like us to
actually,
see how we can improve the process.
To facilitate, we started allowing them to submit via email. So that way they don't have to come into the office. They can just send us an email and we'll include it in.
Yeah, but I
into
think,
our
like to
packet.
Commissioner Galansky's point, especially with constituents in that area, you've got some who are elderly, you've got some who are low income, and they're probably not all tech savvy. So it's easier for them to pick up the phone, or if it's a letter, just check something off and send it back versus how do I log into an email account and send an opposition? Because I think especially in that area, I think the homeowners we've still got left, because my great aunt used to be one of them. They're in their 60s to 90s probably. Would you agree, Nerith?
More than anything though, people just they try to like mind their own business. They don't want to be meddling in other people's business because there might be retribution. Like
Yeah.
that's really what I find to be the most common.
Yeah.
I get that. And I mean, I get it, and that's an issue. That's why I'm trying to see if there's any sort of solution we can find for people still being able to voice their opposition, you being able to verify that they fall within the guideline of who can protest this, and having some sort of process through council that, so sounds like you kind of get a gist of what it is we're trying to figure out. If there's
We
a
can,
process we can do.
legal can work with the planning department, maybe do a joint kind of suggestions at the next meeting or meeting after,
Okay.
solutions to it.
That works.
And if I recall, was the original application, was it city initiated?
Yes, the original application was city initiated for the reason that the property pre-UDC used to be zoned commercial.
Okay.
And because what's on the ground in that area is primarily residential, with the adoption of the UDC, it was downzoned. The property owner who is here today to address or to express his concerns was not in favor of the rezoning that occurred with the UDC.
So he
And-
purchased, before it was residential.
Right, so he has owned it for a long time. It used to be residential at some point in time, then he rezoned it and it was zoned commercial. And then with the UDC, looking at the property history and when it was rezoned and the fact that nothing had really been done with the property. And also the fact that what predominates in that particular area is residential. Staff decided to downzone it to a residential zoning. Now, we provided the courtesy of doing a city-initiated case for the commission to decide whether or not it was adequate to give it a commercial zoning once again. Now, at that point in time in July, it was denied, and it was only 1 acre out of the 3. Now, the property owner is now bringing it back, but for the entire 3 acres, not just the 1 acre.
So the property owner wants to take it back to commercial, which is what they had up until about a year ago, when they when the new.
When the new
plan-
map was adopted.
Right.
How
Okay.
long had it been commercial prior to the UDC change?
I believe it was in 2013 that it was rezoned.
8, 9 years. What was planning and zoning's recommendation, the board?
For this particular case, we proposed a denial.
What did the
P&Z
P and Z
bill?
board do?
They approved
They
it.
approved it? Okay.
Thank
Looks, yes, sir.
This is Mr. Felipe Ramirez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Felipe Ramírez. Primeramente quería felicitarlos porque es la primera vez que vengo a una taller o una plática de estas. Para mí es la primera vez. No hablo inglés, hablo español. Tengo 10 años que resido en la ciudad de Brownsville. Cuando yo llegué hace 7 años, yo soy técnico en máquinas de combustión interna. Trabajo ahorita actualmente en el puerto de mecánico. Se vendió una propiedad que me interesó. La compré hace 7 años, pero cuando yo la compré la propiedad era puro monte, era monte alto, total. Entonces, antes de comprarla, yo chequé que si podía poner el negocio, la propiedad era comercial. Y vine y chequé en la ciudad y me dijeron que sí me servía para lo que yo requería. Entonces, pues la compré. No debo taxas, voy al corriente todos mis años, pero lo que hice fue que comencé a desmontar la propiedad para poner más adelante lo que yo quería poner, que era un taller mecánico para mi turba. Cuando yo terminé de tumbar en el monte, después cerqué. Hice la cerca, lo cerqué, lo circulé. Y cuando vine el año pasado a querer proponer para lo de mi negocio, el 21, que era cuando estaba la pandemia, pues me dijeron que ya no era comercial, que me la habían quitado la ciudad, desconocida, no sabía el procedimiento o las leyes, ¿verdad? Entonces lo que hice yo rápidamente fue que quererlas volver a... Hablé con las personas requeridas, me dijeron que pues había sido injusto, que me daban otra oportunidad, que no se me iba a cobrar. Pero vine a la primera junta y en la primera junta pues sí pasé, pero en la segunda junta había acumulación de trabajo y no pude venir, pero hablé que no podía venir y me dijeron que no había problema, que viniera a la tercera junta. Pero cuando iba a ser la tercera junta no sabía el lugar donde iba a ser, entonces yo hablé y me dijeron que ya no podía venir, que pues, ya a mí se me había negado el caso. Entonces yo dije, pues, ¿qué hago, verdad? Otra vez, no quiero perder, pues ya tengo toda una inversión ahí. Y pues se me dijo, pues ahora vas a tener que hacer un pago y hacer, se me explicó lo del procedimiento. Entonces, ahora dije, ya no voy a perder ninguna junta, mejor prefiero perder mi trabajo que perder una junta. Y fue por eso que ya vine a una y pienso que sí se me aprobó, pero esta es la segunda junta y pues hoy vine, ¿verdad? Y aquí estoy. Es lo que le quería exponer a ustedes y darles las gracias por ponerles en su corazón, ¿verdad? Si pueden ayudarme, yo se los agradecería.
Y señor Ramírez, si puedo, ahorita mismo tiene un negocio ahí o tiene equipo ahí en la propiedad.
Nada, señorita, nada más tengo la pura propiedad, nada más que ya la tengo limpia, ya pensando en hacer algo ya pronto, ¿verdad?
¿Arregla carros o camiones también?
No, soy en gasolina, no diésel. Conozco, sé, pero sé más de gasolina.
Gracias. Any other discussion, any other questions? Okay. Do we have a motion to close public hearing?
If I understood correctly, when he bought the property and then he paid to have it changed to commercial, he submitted he initiated and paid the fees and came before the commission to change the zoning?
No, so he bought the property already.
Commercial.
Already
Zoned as
commercial?
commercial.
Okay.
Right.
That was my question. If he had gone through the process and then we flipped it on him.
Move to close. I'm sorry, were you done?
Yeah?
I move to close.
Second.
We have a motion to close in a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, do we have any motions on the item?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed?
I'm going to go nay.
Okay, we have one nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Gracias.
Mayor, for the record, Commissioner Gowan left the meeting.
Okay. When, before the vote?
Yes.
Okay,
She
still
didn't vote.
passes. We're still good. Thanks.
Items for individual consideration. Item number one, consideration and action to award specific and aggregate stop-loss medical insurance coverage to Voya for plan year 2022-2023, Organizational Development and Human Resources Department.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Ivan Reyes. I'm with ODNHR, Organizational Development Department. So we are here today for discussion and to request for approval for stop-loss renewal for fiscal year 2023. I don't know where to. Just a brief summary. And before that, just wanted to, just as a reminder or just for your information, stop-loss insurance is the excess coverage that we normally purchase over or normal coverage, especially as self-insured. This is to address catastrophic claims. So this is what we are discussing this evening. For the current summary, we now have our carrier is Berkshire Hathaway, and we currently have the information that you have in front of your screen. We do want to go ahead and preserve as much possible the coverages that we have. But just wanted to also share that for this particular year, we are presenting this item based on the fact that our administrator, TML Health, did inform to the city. They were not going to, this year, they stopped providing that service to the city. So the city of Brownsville went into an RFP following all the procurement requirements. And you see the information and the summary of the RFP information on your screen. Based on this information and the responses we received, we only received one response, which included 3 carriers, 4 options, and a total of 9 options for renewal. There was a committee that RFP committee, which includes our healthcare consultant, Higginbotham, that worked together so that they could provide recommendations. And what you're gonna see next is the actual, I think I moved it too fast, right? Okay, so what you're seeing in front of you is the summary or the general information on the option that was selected for, that was recommended for the city to move forward with. This, as I mentioned, this preserves our specific deductible that we have today, the aggregating specific deductible, and also even including the laser individual, which is the high claimant that we have been carrying for several years already. With this in mind, we want to go ahead and recommend to move forward with renewing this stop-loss insurance for the year with the option that was recommended, which is Voya Carrier. This is maintaining the laser at $950,000, continuing with the 300,000 specific deductible in combination with the 450,000 aggregating deductible. Just wanted to mention real quick that this particular amounts that we're recommending do have a couple of changes on the percentages. The actual changes that we are going to be seeing is going to be on the actual fixed cost. There's a slight increase of 4.6%, but we do have two amounts that are going to be decreasing, which is on the aggregate attachment point. It's going to be decreasing to 5.32%, and we will also be reducing the maximum plan liability by 4.87%. So this is the recommendation that we have. I'm not sure if we have any questions. We also have the Higginbotham team online for any questions that you might entertain.
I only have one question because I wasn't able to get it from the packet, and maybe I missed it. If so, I apologize. But what was the premium last year?
What was the agreement last year?
The premium.
Oh, I'm sorry. The premium last year, we have, it's 813,200.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks. Do
You're welcome.
we have any other questions? Do we have any motions?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2,
I know this next item, I believe, there was some missing information from the packet. So I know that our city manager has asked that we consider tabling this item. So does anybody have an issue with that?
I'll move to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
Item number 3, consideration and action to approve resolution number 2022-061, establishing the Madeira Public Improvement District number 1 and authorizing the preparation of a service and assessment for the Public Improvement District, and also providing official notice of the PID's establishment to the Cameron County Clerk as required by Chapter 372, Texas Local Government Code, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Nice to see you all. Madeira Development LLC is seeking approval of a resolution to continue the procedure to create the Madeira Public Improvement District number 1. Earlier this year in June, the City Commission approved resolution number 2022-33. The commission found that the Madeira PID would promote the interests of the city and that the city would execute the power granted by the city in Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Government Code to create the Public Improvement District. Today, the Madeira Development LLC is seeking approval of Resolution 2022-61 to affirm the creation of the Madeira Public Improvement District number 1 and to authorize the PID to develop a service plan and to to provide notice of the establishment of the Madeira PID number 1 to the Cameron County Clerk's Office as required by Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Government Code. And just as a quick friendly reminder, last June, the City Commission was informed that the PID fee only applied to the homeowners that chose to reside and own property within the Madeira Master Plan community. The PID fee provides revenue above and beyond the standard property taxes to achieve enhanced levels of right-of-way maintenance, landscape, and infrastructure maintenance as well. The Madeira team represented that the PID fee will be approximately $950 per year. And that concludes my presentation, and we do have the developer available if there's any questions from the commission.
Do we have any questions or concerns from the commission?
No questions or concerns, but I do want to make a comment because I think it's very important. I appreciate all the information you gave us, Alan, and I think a lot of us up here are familiar with it, but I know there's still a misconception out there a lot in the public, and I think there's individuals who want to mislead the public on topics like this. So I want to emphasize it for the record. It's very important that when citizens see us considering something like this, this is not about more taxpayer money going to fund something like this. This is about creating a district where only those homeowners who live in that area and are benefiting from the services that are funded from this, they are the ones paying the bill. There is no new tax that is being created for the rest of the citizens of Brownsville, and these are not funds that otherwise would have come to the general fund. These are funds that never would have been collected in the first place because this is a brand-new fee. So I want to make sure that that's on the record because that's very, very important.
Did Commissioner De Los Santos state that correctly for the
Yes,
record?
I want to follow up, say that's correct. It's just within the public improvement district for the Madera development.
And I think we could always add, it's good to have in PIDs a sign, when people go and look at possibly purchasing it, that they are in an assessed district and they know, while they receive that information when they purchase the property, it's what I've found in growing cities, when you have an assessment identified, then people know when they're, passing by or considering a house that there is an assessment.
Any other questions?
I have a
Go
quick
ahead,
question.
Commissioner.
What improvements or maintenance will this fee cover for this development? Just for my information.
Question, what's the money going to be used for? Landscaping, and irrigation.
Okay.
And that's all. We have have already started building a very large pumping station out of Resaca to pull the water out of the Resaca and take it to all the main areas where people are going to be entering into the property. And so all the public areas that are going to be watered will be coming and utilized by this system. Also the landscaping, the initial landscaping. And the next time we come to you, we will be presenting you the plan, the assessment plan, but it's very, very reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have any motions?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners.
Next item, board appointments. Item number 1, consideration and action on resolution number 2022-063 to appoint a second alternate to the RGB MPO Policy Board, Multimodal Department.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. My name is Frank Gudino. I'm here for the Multimodal Transportation Department. And what we're asking today is to appoint a second alternate for the RGV MPO Transportation Policy Board. The Policy Board makes decisions across the region, and it's all transportation related.
And I'm the current representative, and Commissioner Galansky does a great job of being the alternate and showing up when I can't.
And you both are out this time.
But this time, what brought this up was Commissioner Galansky mentioned she couldn't attend this coming meeting, so we're like, we need a second alternate. So I believe that Helen is available to serve as that alternate. However, it's up to the commission. If there's a commission member that wishes to be that alternate, that's completely fine. But it is important that you be available for the upcoming meeting next Wednesday, the 28th.
No, everybody's looking at Commissioner Cowan.
Commissioner Cowan actually is not available.
Yeah.
He's what?
Yeah, I can't make it either. We have a meeting next week, around the same time.
Sure.
Roy?
Yes.
Okay.
Nominate Helen.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Congratulations, Helen.
Get ready, Helen, because they're gonna, Miss Jersey be real busy on those days.
I love transportation, so that's fine.
Item number 2, consideration and action on resolution number 2022-062 to appoint 2 members to the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee, Multimodal Department.
I do know that the person I had appointed resigned before even getting there. He told me he had a lot of work in Tulum, so he's not here at the moment. Is that correct?
Good evening. My name is Octavio Salazar. I'm with the Multimodal Transportation Department. We are looking for 2 nominations from the commission. I think, well, like you said, mentioned that Mr. Aldo did not resign. He resigned, so we're looking for another nomination from you. And we're looking for a nomination from Ms. Commissioner Tetro.
Commissioner, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So I would like to appoint Mr. Edward Saldivar. He's a Realtor.
Okay.
And he's an outstanding member of the community who's an advocate for veterans, but he owns his own brokerage and all of that. So I think he'll do excellent.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have a motion to appoint Edward Saldivar. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
I nominate Alejandro Nájera as a builder.
Good choice. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for Alejandro Nájera. Is there any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I move to go to executive.
Mayor, it is now 7:50. Would you like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Actually, I believe that, again, there's an issue with some information for the executive session item. I believe it deals with a contract and some terms. So therefore,
I move to
there's no
adjourn.
need. Okay, we have a
Next
motion to
item.
adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion
Do we have to?
and a
table?
second. Do we have to table executive or no? Okay,
No.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Stand adjourned. Thank you all.
7:51. Meeting has ended.
You forgot to ask for discussion. You traumatized me.